Hi, this is Paul Slakis, Good News Plan. I'm speaking to Elder George. Hi, Elder. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Paul. And yourself, all right?
Okay, good. Elder, do me a favor. Speak up a little bit louder. I'm not sure how good the connection is.
All right. Can you hear me well now?
Are you calling from a cell phone?
No.
Okay. I'm going to start it again, but just speak up the best you can. Hi, Paul Slakis.
Right.
Hi, this is Paul Slakis, Good News Plan. I'm speaking to Elder George. Hi, Elder. How are you?
I'm fine, Paul. Thank you.
Good. You're the chief of Men's Action to Rebuild Society, a spiritual-based and gender-oriented organization that promotes a more natural way of life for humankind. You're also author of Dear Brothers and Sisters, Gender and Its Responsibilities, and you have a website called mensaction.net. You've been on television here and for a bunch of years, and have a book also called A Gender Handbook for Western Man. And I'm very interested in your book and what you are talking about. In the preface, you give some very interesting statistics, which are actually because of the Sandy events that have just happened in Connecticut, are very, very pertinent. And I don't know if you can mention them yourself, or I can read them from your book, some of these thoughts.
Well, as you choose. Go ahead.
Well, it says the United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world. Its prisoners contain 2.4 million, and I believe the book was written in 2010. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. 1 person in 6 between the ages of 18 and 30 has a relationship with the law. And that's not law school. America has 5% of the world's population and 25% of its prisoners. It also has the most violent boys in the world. Western thought has pioneered utter defilement of the female beginning in grade school, where 10-year-old girls participate in sex clubs. Continuing in adulthood, streams of women journey to California, world mecca for pornography, serves as interns, X-rated films. Upwards to 10 million women, about 10% of the adult female population, suffer from debilitating depression. In the United States, Europe nearly maintains a 15%. So these are very, very serious statistics that, after a major shooting, start to be front page of the media. This has been a passion of you for years, 20 plus, right?
Now, you talk about, the shooting just now, okay? At the Sandy Hook Elementary School. But you see that the response, is completely materialistic. We want more laws, more security, or if you're on the other side of the fence, more guns. I guess if some of them feel we should arm the teachers, Maybe we'll have 6 guns for the teachers now. In any event, nobody is addressing the main issue, right, of the lack of ethics and morality in this country. That's not brought up. We just want to fix things with the law.
Okay. So how and what do you suggest as some thoughts to proceed here in a better way?
To proceed in a better way, we have to strengthen the family again, right? And the family is just about non-existent in this country. The laws and what have you are such that they do not support family. The divorce rate continues to climb. The marriage rate continues to go down. We've made marriage essentially in this country obsolete. And family is where you learn ethics and morality and self-sacrifice and service to other people. So no family, no ethics. And you can't have family without male authority, right? And that's where ethics come from. So this whole thing with the school shootings, the end result is going to be that the government will become stronger, but the people will not be more moral, all right? Government cannot legislate morality. It cannot legislate ethics.
Let me ask a question about one word that you did say, mainly because I do many, many, many stories on women, and maybe I don't understand what you mean by male authority. What do you mean by male authority?
Is there any organization that you're aware of that does not have a head to it?
Well, let's say no. Okay, so
no. Let's say no because it could not exist any other way.
Okay.
Right.
So but why do you say male?
If you take authority away, the organization breaks down. So we removed male authority. The family broke down. Now, women will always need an authority, but they have gravitated now to the government. Now, all this shooting here now, we're going to the government to fix it.
Well,
not people. People
let me
can't
just
do
back
anything
up for
anymore.
a second here, Elder, if you don't mind.
Right.
Just because, only because that sometimes always, I actually think this is part of a concern, actually, male authority. How about female authority? I mean, because you talk about gender, a gender handbook for a Western man. So I'm I'm very much a women's liberator, personally, and my mother and my family, and done many stories in this regard.
Yeah, that's European. That's strictly European.
Okay,
right?
And I'm a European
right,
product.
And that's it. Right, and the European materialistic viewpoint, right, is destroying, society throughout the world. It's collapsing.
Well, how do you come about saying that?
That it's collapsing?
No, why do you say? I mean, let's just clear up first: male authority or female. You need heads of a family. Usually, you try to hopefully have two heads. You have to have two partners.
Two heads cannot work. You have partners, but you do not have two heads. No. Okay? Even St. Paul, you're a minister, he said women are submissive. Okay? The man is the head. Right? But that's
we'll put that on the side because that's a whole other conversation.
Okay. But the concept of gender is fundamental to the universe, the yin and yang of life. There is no society other than the European society that does not recognize the polarity of creation. Wherever you go in any society, you will have the equivalent of the yin and yang, except Europe. So Europe tries to compensate for that lack of knowledge, right, by government and by laws, instead of by the teaching of ethics and morals.
Okay. Let's go to your book now, okay? Tell me about it. A Gender Handbook for Western Man.
Well, I've just been telling you about it. I mean, you have to read it, Paul, okay?
But the basic, from what you speak right now, is the premise of your book, and is the if someone asks you,
that's the premise of my book, right? I explain the concept of gender very clearly in the first few chapters. I make it as clear as a bell, right? The concept of gender, right? There's the feminine principle brings forth life and nurtures it, and the masculine principle provides the environment and means for that nurturing to take place. And that's essentially the basis of all primitive societies. All primitive societies. The male provides the environment for the female to bring forth life and to nurture it. Even the animals do that. It's only the Western society, right, which focuses on materialism to make money. Right? So that making of money, there's no ethics in the making of money. Right? In fact, it creates animosity amongst people, selfishness, desire to have more than your neighbor, and so on. And that type of society needs laws. Laws and laws and laws. But it has never worked. And the Western society, is so it's proud of its legal history. I wrote in a handbook once, from the earliest European Greeks, there existed a great dependency on the law. Draco instituted a system of law based on the aristocracy, which, by the way, is a feminine form of government. Solon developed a system of law in which eligibility for political power was based on wealth. From Draco to Solon to Justinian to Napoleon, the Europeans prided themselves on their legal institutions. After a 2,000-year history based on law, when the Europeans came to America, the Indians said of them, the white man would speak with forked tongue. We broke about every treaty that we ever made with the American Indians, right? Because we had no ethics. They had ethics, we had the law.
So how you do have a good positive comment that you state that we need the strengthening of a family. Okay. What other then ways can we help ourselves? And let's just kind of think with America only, even though I'm a worldly guy and believe in one world. What are some other things we can do? I mean, get rid of laws or get rid of legal system?
Oh, get rid of most of the laws. Get rid of most of the laws and most of the government. All right? The more ethical you become, the less laws you need.
That's true. If you're not going to...
Okay, even Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. If you do that, you don't even need the 10 Commandments. Right?
What did Jesus say again? What did Jesus say?
Love your neighbor as yourself.
Oh, okay. He's got a birthday coming up.
That's the great law, okay? Right.
Okay.
So we live in a society, right? See, everything comes from the male. Everything comes from the male. It's the initiative force of the universe. The feminine principle is the receptive entity. If you don't have a receptive entity and an initiatory force, you can never get anything done. Right? That's why you should read my book and then give me a call on this, Paul, and I'm sure we could have a spirited conversation. The only way anything ever happens in this world is something has to be receptive and something has to be assertive. Without that, you can't make anything.
Let me ask you this, okay, just in general, okay? You seem very, in essence, let me say focused in a good way, or in the way you believe, on the male-female aspect of this. And is the male, to me, it all seems a little very messed up, male and or female. I don't know at this moment in our society whether it's the gender. I don't know how gender actually literally even plays into it. So, I mean, I know certain things, but most of the gender stuff, one second, most of the stuff I know about gender is that women are put down. That's the main, the most I know in many
I don't
cases.
see where they're put down, and on all the TV programs that I watch, and I don't watch them anymore. I don't even have a television set, but the men are always portrayed as dumb oafs that the women straighten out. I don't know where you get it that women are put down. Now, if you're going to say women are not the same as men, they aren't, but most men don't even realize that anymore. Apparently you don't either, okay? You see, we compare women to doing what men have been doing. And, in other words, we've put the value of family down to nothingness, of bringing life into this world and nurturing it down to nothing. Even on your program here, you showed 4 Muslim women and how they succeeded, right? As though it were a positive thing. Now, as Muslim nations become westernized, their divorce rates go up, their fertility rates go down. Morocco and Algeria, the fertility rate doesn't even sustain the population anymore. They got to import people. So we have that value structure in America that we judge women or make fun of women if they don't do what men do. They weren't designed to do what men do. Don't you notice they look different? The reason they have an hourglass figure is because they're carrying a precious cargo inside there. It's called the eggs for the future of the human race. What do you think happens to those women when they go boxing and wrestling and jumping and doing gymnastics? All right? They're distorting, they're mutating their bodies. They're mutating their bodies. We have a society of mutated women's bodies. Not only do they mutate from athletics and jumping around and what have you, they mutate from the stress of being in business and what have you. Right? Hysterectomies, mastectomies are going up. There are societies in this world where women never have breast cancer or cancer of the uterus. But we accept it as part of being an independent woman here. And we have the women actually believing that they're making progress. Right? And 10% of American women suffer from debilitating depression. This is a stressed-out nation of women since they've become liberated. I can go on a long time on this, Paul. I'll leave it up to you. You're conducting the interview.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Well, I would say, Paul, if you're at all interested, you can do yourself a favor and read my book from cover to cover.
Well,
and then call me up, and then you won't have these questions. Right?
Well, no. See, this is where you don't understand my interview, okay? My questions are my interview. My questions are not that I became smart by reading your book. That's immaterial to our audience. What needs to you need to be able to explain your book, not only in a written form, but we're having a conversation. You wrote the book, so you should be able to speak about it, and I should be able to ask you who, what, where, when, and why. And you seem very competent, and I think we're fine here, Elder. You're saying what you think. So, and I when I interview people, I am the audience. Okay, I'm the dumb audience, let's say, who has no knowledge about anything more than I'm talking to somebody, and now we start our conversation. And I just have a cover of a book. So that's how I do it.
To respond to that, Paul, I want you to then put in perspective our relative positions. You have spent a lifetime being indoctrinated into a certain way of thinking, as I have, and it took me most of my lifetime to break out of it, and your listeners as well. Now, it's very difficult for me to say in 5 minutes and make it sound convincing to you of something that's contrary to what you've been taught in your lifetime.
Well,
so this is where I can't encapsulate it. I did it as best I could in stating that in order for anything to happen, there has to be a receptive entity and an assertive influence. If you have two assertive influences together, nothing gets done. And if you have two receptive entities together, nothing gets done.
So here's what happened here,
receptive.
Elder, for me, okay? You've given me one of our main desires here on Good News is to be life-affirming, and I will say you are, and thought-provoking, okay? So you've given me something to think about, okay? And whether it's 63 years or I believe, if I read this right, you're 80 years. Is that right?
In 2 weeks, I'll be 83.
83 years, okay. So combined together, we've lived a heck of a long time. So you've given another thought in this whole big thought process of our existence and how to move ourselves forward. So for me, I'm very happy that we've had this conversation. Your book is called The Gender Handbook for Western Man. Elder George is the author.
Yes, and the reason I wrote that book, my first book was Dear Brothers and Sisters, Gender and Its Responsibility. But I learned that the bottleneck to my message coming out was Western thought. For instance, to give you a little background on this, I wrote for 7 different ethnic newspapers. In other words, outside of Western thought, my thinking was accepted because it's not really original. It's only different to the Western mind.
I understand. Okay.
Okay.
And we're very similar in that too. You might not know, but I represented every ethnic piece of media almost here in America for 27 years. Okay. I worked with every ethnic community here in America. So. And I've had offices in all those communities as well. So that's been a big part of my life because that's my personal background, multicultural marketing and advertising, in addition to what we're doing here, one world kind of thing. So we have a lot in common and a lot of thought process. I understand when you say what you're doing and how you're doing, and that's why our mutual friend, Shaheed Mahmoud, a board member and a good close friend for many, many years, a very spiritual and highly respected by many, and by far by me, said, you're a man that I should be speaking with. And I'm so happy that he did give me this opportunity to talk to you. And I'm sure we could be talking for a lot longer. So I want to suggest to the people to go to your website. Your website is?
mensaction.net.
Okay, beautiful.
MENSACTION.net. And everything's on there, my books, my essays, 35 videos. If you'll be immersed in gender knowledge. Okay.
Excellent. It sounds great. All right, my friend. I looked at the website. Nice job on that site as well. So, Elder, one last question. What's good news for you?
What's good news?
For you.
You mean an event, or what would I consider?
In any aspect of your life. Any shape, size, form. Personal, business, anything. What's good news for you?
That people are becoming more aware. For instance, holistic healing, vegetarianism, becoming closer to the land, younger people forsaking big business and going out into the country and growing organic produce. That type, getting away from materialism. A small group, but nevertheless, it's happening. That's good news to me.
Beautiful. Elder, thanks so much for sharing good news with us.
All right, you take care. Be well.
You too. Bye-bye.